Morning guys, Dave Canterbury at the Pathfinder School out here to talk a little bit more about the bulletproof bushcraft items. I want to back up a little bit and talk about frames for packs for a minute, because we're going to talk a little bit about packs in the next video, and I think pack frames are an important part of that. So I've got an Atlas pack frame here, and this is a good common man way to set yourself up with an external pack frame. The only problem with these frames is that they're really not big enough for anything. As far as hauling game and things like that on, or hauling firewood, you don't have a whole lot of room on this thing. You can't really put a bedroll underneath it very easily and put a pack on at the same time, and that makes it a little bit less than optimal in my opinion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these straps off this $20 pack frame that I picked up at a gun show. It's got the waist pad on it, it's got the shoulder straps and all that in really good condition. So I'm going to take those off, and I'm going to build a pack frame out of PVC that hopefully will do the job. So stay with me, that's what we're going to do today. Okay guys, so let's talk real quick about what materials we need to make this happen. Well, a heat gun is going to come in real handy. If you don't have a heat gun, you can always heat sand up in a fire, or heat sand up on a barbecue grill or in a forge, and heat that sand up and pour hot sand into your PVC, and that will make it flexible so that you can bend it and let it cool down to the shape you want it. But a heat gun is a convenient way to do that. A hacksaw will work for cutting the PVC, but I've got an electric jigsaw with a metal cutting blade in it. We'll use that to cut our PVC with. And then I got a marker, I've got a tape, I've got a drawing of what I want to make, and then I've got a stock of material over here. It's probably enough to make at least a couple of frames out of. I've got some black high temperature paint that I'm going to use to paint the frame with. I've got some sanding paper over there, and then I've just got a bag of elbows and tees that we're going to use as well. And then I've got 3 pieces of Schedule 20 PVC, or thin wall PVC, that we're going to use to make this frame out of. I thought about making it out of thick wall PVC, but I think the thin wall is going to hold up. We're going to test it and find out. Stay with me guys. Okay, so at this point we've put just 2 elbows on here with a 13-inch piece between, 2 elbows on the upper side with a 13-inch between, and right now we're not gluing anything. All we're doing is looking at this frame to make sure it's what we want, because we want to glue this thing together one time. So we're putting everything together a little at a time, and we're just pushing it together like an erector set. And once we know exactly what we got and what we want, and it's going to work for us, then we're going to glue it together and paint it and all that stuff. So let's look at this compared to an Atlas pack frame. Okay, it's a little wider, and it's quite a bit taller. Now we're going to put some T supports in here as well to help make this frame more solid. We've got to figure out where we're going to put our top frame. If our straps on our Atlas pack sit right there, then we're probably going to want our T's about level with that. So where we're going to cut this thing to put our T's in at is right in here somewhere. Okay, so we've got our first upright going across here now. This is where our pack straps are going to go, remember, here and here. So now we need to get one down lower, support brace between, a support brace going down to here with a little bit of a bend in it, and then we've got to adjust the pack with the heat gun or the pack frame to fit our body better. And we'll talk about that as we go. So let's get a couple more pieces and parts on here. Remember, nothing's glued together at this point because we want to make sure it's right before we glue anything. Okay guys, so we did put a T support in here with 2 T's here. We had to shorten these 2 pieces by 1 inch because we added these connectors as opposed to this top piece. Trial and error. This is the first one I've ever built, so we're going to see how it goes. Not real happy with the flexibility I've got right here in this shelf, but that's okay because I planned on putting another T here and putting a support right there anyway. And I think that's going to make a big difference in that. Then I've got to contour the pack frame to basically fit my body with the heat gun. So let's get this piece in and get this piece going across, and we'll figure out where we're at from there. Okay guys, so I made a change here. I took those 2 bends, I cut that shelf off about where I was going to put that next T connector in there. And I got to looking at that bend in that pipe, and I just didn't like it. It just looked weak to me. Maybe it's because I overbent it, didn't get a good radius in there. Whatever the case may be, that bent PVC I felt was a weakness. So just by chopping that off and putting an elbow in there, I get the exact same effect, and I don't have to get fancy with the heat gun at that point. So I think now we got a pretty steady shelf right there for putting stuff on. We don't really have to worry about too much about putting another support in here like I was talking about doing. I think we're okay with just this now. So I think we pretty much got a pack frame that's viable. Now remember, I haven't glued anything together yet because I've got to test this thing out and see how it's going to fit my body, and maybe do some heating up of the PVC to bend and contour the frame just a little bit. But other than that, I think we're getting somewhere real quick now. Okay, I do know that I want the top of this thing to bend out a little bit away from the back of my head. All right, because my straps are going to be here. I don't want this hitting me in the back of the head, so I want to bend this out a little bit. So I'm going to lay this pack frame down on a piece of board here, just a piece of 2x10 or 2x8, and I'm going to heat these sides up right here and just push down and bend it up and let it cool. So I got the heat gun plugged in over here. One side at a time, just heating it up a little bit and bowing it out. Okay. Now I'm just going to hold that down on the table right here until that cools down. And that should be okay. Okay, well, let's get some straps on this thing and see how it fits our back. I got a sneaking suspicion that this is going to have to bend a little bit as well. We're going to find out here in just a minute. Okay guys, so I've got this pack on my back and I'm already feeling that center point right there. It's pushing right against the center of my back. So that definitely needs to be bent out a little bit. The straps themselves are not too bad. The shelf sitting in about the right spot. It's just that thing in the center there is going to have to be bent, and then we can try to put a waist strap on and see how that feels. You see, I'm just using this block as a bending block or a bending jig. I'm not really setting anything up special. I'm just kind of doing all this on the fly. This is really experimental because it's the first time I've ever done it. So and I'm just trying to get this thing bent pretty much even on both sides. Okay guys, that actually feels just an absolute ton better. That feels actually really, really good. Even bending over, it's not too bad at all. I think we need to put a waist strap on here and see where we're at with that. Okay guys, I went ahead and attached the waist belt to the back of the frame. And feels pretty good. It's pretty comfortable. Don't feel anything hitting me or dead in my back or it's going to bother me too much. I think that's high enough up, it's going to be alright. This is all trial and error, guys. You just got to kind of play with this stuff and see how it's going to feel on you. I think this is going to be okay with weight on it. You got to think it's going to have a little weight pulling down on it. But if you get that waist strap cinched up, you should be okay there. I think I'm going to go ahead and glue this thing together, paint it, give it a shot. Okay guys, so we're going to take our pack frame now, and we've got it all done. All our bends are in. Everything's the way we want it. Probably could have actually even bent this bar a little bit. May still yet do that before I finished up here. I may put a bend in this bar at the top just to match the rest of the frame instead of having that straight bar there. Don't know yet. But we've got to take it apart, sand each individual area down that's going to be glued together, and then I'm just going to use some regular PVC glue, just an all-purpose multi-PVC cement to glue each one of these joints together. And then I'm going to give it a rough sanding, and then I'm going to paint it with just some high-temperature black paint to get it, not white. And then we'll be ready to put this thing to the test. Okay, so once I've got all of these portions glued together, I'm just going to go through and make sure that all the joints are as tight as they can get. Pound everything down where it belongs. That way I know everything's seated square. Okay guys, so we've got our pack frame pretty well painted up here, waiting on it to dry. And the really good thing about these pack frames like this is, this PVC pack frame weighs probably ounces. I mean, it doesn't weigh hardly anything. And it can be adapted to packs that you already have very easily. I showed you how to put Alice pack straps on it, so you could put any kind of bedroll or packing element that you had on there, just like we did with the Roycroft frame. But you also have the ability with this to adapt packs to it. And so if you've already spent a lot of money on a pack, like let's say a Bushcrafter by Duluth, you could put that Duluth Bushcrafter on this frame very, very easily. Use the existing straps from that pack, the existing waist belt from that pack, and you've added a few ounces, and you've added a ton of versatility with that external frame, because now you can use that frame by itself. And if you've got that bucket inside the pack already, that trash can like I carry, now you've added more versatility. And you can really make yourself a bulletproof system that way. But on the cheap, as far as Bulletcraft Bushcraft on a budget, or bulletproof Bushcraft on a budget goes, this frame is probably about 10, 12 bucks is what it costs to build this frame. And if you buy these components in contractor packages, you can get them cheaper. I bought them individually, so I got about, let's just say, 50, 60 cents, probably somewhere in that neighborhood in each one of these joints. And then, maybe $1, $2 worth of PVC. So the frame itself was cheap to build. The versatility of the frame is what's great. And PVC is a lot stronger than people think it is. It can take a lot more abuse than people believe it can. You just got to get your joints glued up really good, and it's going to last you for a long time. Okay guys, so between this PVC pack frame that we made today, a standard Alice pack frame, and the Roycroft frame that I showed you guys how to build, you've got 3 really good frame options you can use for backpacking that don't cost very much money. The most expensive one would be this Alice pack frame, and if you got it, you'd have the straps as well, so then you could use them for something like this if you wanted to. The only problem with this pack frame is it's light enough. It just isn't big enough. It doesn't have a shelf on the bottom of it below the pack. You can put a radio shelf on there, but that's not going to get you a shelf below your pack, really. You can do some versatile things with this that I've shown in the past, but if you make a little bit bigger frame, you can have a lot more versatility in a pack frame. So this will work out really good for you. I would encourage you to try to make one of these, experiment with it, try it out, trial it, and see what you think. If you don't like it, didn't cost you very much money to make it. I'm Dave Canterbury at the Pathfinder School. I appreciate you joining me for another video today in our series, Bulletproof Bushcraft on a Budget. I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. I appreciate everything that you do for me, for my school, for my family, for my affiliates, and for my friends. Thanks, guys.